Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. Yuan Shikai was an extremely important figure in modern Chinese history and one of the leading figures of the Beiyang warlords. Not only did he play a crucial role in pushing for the abdication of the Qing emperor during the Xinhai Revolution, which led to him becoming the provisional president of the Republic of China, but he was also later elected as the country's first formal president. However, this once powerful political leader made a surprising decision at the end of 1915, to proclaim himself emperor and adopt the era name Hongxian. This decision not only ended his political career but also profoundly altered the course of modern Chinese history. Yuan Shikai's rise to power was closely linked to China's political environment. At the end of the 19th century, China was facing internal turmoil and external threats. The Qing government was corrupt and ineffective, while foreign invasions intensified, leaving the country impoverished and weak. In this context, Yuan Shikai, with his shrewd political mind and exceptional military skills, quickly came to prominence. He first made his mark in the Korean issue and was later appointed as the Minister of Beiyang, commanding China's most modern army at the time, the Beiyang Army. As the de facto controller of the Beiyang Army, Yuan Shikai gradually gained significant influence in China's political arena. Through careful maneuvering, he established a power base centered around himself, expanding his influence in the power struggles between the Qing nobility and the Southern Revolutionary Forces. In 1901, Yuan played a key role in implementing the Qing government's new policies, which not only solidified his military power but also granted him considerable political authority. After the outbreak of the Xinhai Revolution, the Qing government's rule quickly collapsed. The revolutionaries in the south established the Republic of China and elected Sun Yat-sen as the provisional president. However, the Beiyang Army remained the strongest military force in China at the time, making Yuan Shikai a pivotal figure between the Qing government and the revolutionaries. Yuan Shikai played a crucial role in the abdication of the Qing emperor. Through behind-the-scenes negotiations, he pressured the emperor to step down, paving the way for the establishment of the Republic of China. In return, Yuan was appointed as the provisional president of the Republic and was later formally elected as its first president. Although Yuan Shikai held the highest office in the Republic after becoming president, his rule was far from stable. Following the Xinhai Revolution, China's political landscape was highly fragmented, with revolutionary factions, old warlords, and regional powers all in conflict, making it impossible to establish central authority. Despite holding high office, Yuan was forced to sign a series of laws that weakened the central government under pressure from southern revolutionaries, which made him feel constrained. At the same time, Yuan himself was deeply influenced by the feudal imperial system, believing that the democratic republican system was unsuitable for China's circumstances. He always saw himself as destined to save China, thinking that restoring the monarchy could bring stability and prosperity to the country. In this context, Yuan Shikai, after much planning, decided in 1915 to abolish the Republic of China, restore the monarchy, and proclaim himself emperor with the era name Hongxian. Another key driving force behind Yuan Shikai's decision to proclaim himself emperor was his desire for absolute power. Although he had become president of the Republic, he knew the president's powers were limited and subject to the constraints of parliament. To Yuan, the emperor's power was unrestricted, and restoring the monarchy would not only grant him supreme authority but also solidify the dominance of the Beiyang warlords. Therefore, driven by his lust for power, Yuan resolutely decided to declare himself emperor. However, Yuan Shikai's imperial ambitions were met with fierce opposition from all quarters. The military, political, commercial, academic, and working-class communities all expressed dissatisfaction with his actions, with many openly opposing him. Southern revolutionaries, who were already displeased with Yuan's authoritarian tendencies, were especially enraged by his decision to become emperor. Southern warlords like Tang Jiao, Kai Yi, and Li Liijun quickly organized the National Protection Army and launched a military campaign to depose Yuan Shikai. In addition to military opposition, Yuan Shikai also encountered significant political setbacks. Many of the Beiyang warlords who initially supported him began to waver, with some even switching sides. Under pressure from both domestic and foreign forces, Yuan Shikai's plan to become emperor soon fell into crisis. In March 1916, Yuan Shikai was forced to announce the cancellation of the monarchy and the restoration of the presidential system of the Republic of China. After the cancellation of the monarchy, Yuan Shikai's health rapidly deteriorated. On June 6, 1916, Yuan passed away in Beijing at the age of 57. Before his death, he left a final wish, stating, "Take my coffin back to my hometown and bury me in Huan," expressing his desire to be buried in his ancestral land. After Yuan Shikai's death, the Beijing government decided to hold a state funeral for him, treating him with the honors of a head of state. Leaders of the Beiyang faction, such as Duan Qirui and Li Yuanhong, in consideration of maintaining internal unity within the faction, did not engage in a severe conflict with Yuan's family over the issue of his claim to the throne. Instead, they took on the role of protectors of Yuan Shikai's family. It is worth mentioning that Yuan Shikai's funeral was unprecedented in scale, characterized as a grand and solemn burial combining ancient and modern elements, foreign and domestic, with features of both imperial and civilian funerals. In particular, it highlighted the traditions of the Qing emperor's burial rites. For instance, Yuan Shikai was buried in an imperial dragon robe, and his coffin was made according to imperial standards. During the funeral procession, traditional rituals from Qing emperor burials, such as sprinkling clean water on the streets and laying down yellow earth, were also observed. On June 28, Yuan Shikai's coffin departed from Beijing and was transported by train to Zhangde, modern-day Anyang, Hunan, where he was buried in Huanshang village according to his final wish. The Beiyang government allocated 500,000 yuan for the funeral expenses and established the Yuan President's Funeral Office to make detailed arrangements for the ceremony. On the day of the funeral, all operations on the Jinghan Railway were suspended, as Yuan's coffin passed through cities like Baoding and Handan. Local officials held memorial services along the way. Some historians have commented that the failure of Yuan Shikai's attempt to become emperor was due not only to his own misjudgment but also to the constraints of the broader social environment in China at the time. Firstly, Yuan Shikai's decision to declare himself emperor completely ignored the profound changes that had already occurred in Chinese society. After the Xinhai Revolution, the ideals of democracy and republicanism had spread widely across China, particularly among intellectuals and revolutionaries, who viewed the restoration of the monarchy as a regressive step. Therefore, Yuan Shikai's imperial ambitions not only went against the trend of social development but also provoked widespread public resentment. Secondly, Yuan Shikai failed to garner sufficient political support during his bid for the throne. Although he held significant influence over the Beiyang army, many warlords within the faction did not agree with his plan to become emperor. Some, prioritizing their own interests, remained neutral or even opposed Yuan's ambitions. This political isolation undoubtedly accelerated the failure of his imperial bid. Lastly, Yuan Shikai's attempt to become emperor faced strong opposition from the international community, particularly from foreign powers like Japan, which, for its own interests, firmly opposed his monarchy and imposed economic sanctions. This further exacerbated Yuan Shikai's internal and external difficulties, leading to a swift crisis in his rule. In conclusion, Yuan Shikai's bid to become emperor was a highly significant event in modern Chinese history. It not only marked the end of Yuan Shikai's political career but also signaled the irreversible trend of China's transition from a feudal monarchy to a democratic republic. The failure of Yuan Shikai's attempt to restore the monarchy reflected the profound social changes in China and the progress of the times. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone, and see you in the next time.